Hi, Dr. Brad Canham with Transforma Insights here at the IoT M2M Council booth. I'm very excited talking with Omar Qaise, the CEO and founder at OQ Technologies. And Omar and I were just talking about, there's a lot of buzz around end-to-end technologies right now, especially in IoT, and there's kind of a unique aspect of OQ technology that we're just going over. So I just want to kind of point it directly at you, Omar, and maybe share a little bit about how OQ technology has differentiated itself, and I guess we'll just start right there.
Thank you very much, Dr. Brad, and I'm really happy to be here in your in CES at the IMC booth talking. Actually, we all heard now of the new thing in the world of satellite communication, which is, mobile phones are starting to talk directly to satellites, which is something very new, unheard of before. And this is because of the standardization of 3GPP, of 5G, NTN, non-terrestrial networks. So how could you bring cellular technology into non-terrestrial networks like, balloons, HAPS, low Earth orbit satellites, medium Earth orbit satellites, geo satellites, and with this way you can have mobile communication roaming between, enabled both on terrestrial and satellite networks seamlessly.
Right.
And what is special about OQ is today we are the first company to offer a low Earth orbit, narrowband NTN connectivity anywhere in the world. So we have today 8 satellites, 8 nano satellites in orbit. Soon we're going to launch 2 more, that will be 10. So these satellites will offer global narrowband IoT connectivity anywhere in the world. And this is something very new because that allows us also to roam with terrestrial SIM cards, terrestrial networks. So a user who's currently using narrowband IoT, a machine or a low power sensor connecting through narrowband IoT to a cellular network can seamlessly connect to our satellites once they are out of coverage. And this way we can achieve a lot of coverage everywhere, economies of scale and so on.
Right. Well, it's interesting. We're just talking with Carmen Redondo, actually, at Kyocera, about the importance of having this kind of non-terrestrial and terrestrial kind of connectivity, because the users don't care, right? We all know this. Users just want things to work. But that's very interesting, the LEO connectivity capability, particularly in IoT. So I guess what people are very interested in is use cases, right? The initial use cases and kind of where this may go, of course, because we're all looking at the edge of IoT as well as the core, because the edge keeps moving, right? Omar, use cases that you're seeing as you roll out OQ technology as a company and as a capability.
Yeah, so we see a lot of traction in the energy sector, especially like the oil and gas sector.
Sure.
There's today, a lot of oil and gas companies want to meet their net zero targets for emissions, and you need really to have a lot of measurements everywhere. You need to have a lot of insights and analytics into what's happening on the field, the digital oil field, what they call today. And we enable such companies, for example, in collecting measurements in areas where there's no communication infrastructure, or you have moving assets, or if we talk, for example, monitoring wellheads, emissions from wellheads, or meters on wellheads in vast areas that is remote. This is where the role of satellite IoT comes into the game. What's even better with narrowband IoT in LEO, we can offer much larger capacity of data compared to GEO, for example. Lower cost because we follow the standard, we're compliant with the standard. So we actually capitalize on an existing ecosystem of chip and module makers, mobile operators, technology providers, because it's a global standard. So it's contrary to propriety. And also in agriculture, because especially with agriculture, you're looking at today non-real-time applications, for example, monitoring humidity, temperature, distribution of fertilizers, water levels in tanks, and so on. And instead of putting a very expensive infrastructure on the ground, you could have like low-power devices distributed over large area, millions of such devices that relay data directly to the core network, and that's also the value of satellite IoT. And the third sector is actual logistics. Logistics and maritime is really big time. I mean, a lot of companies are looking into low-cost connectivity, real-time connectivity, and satellites has been always expensive. But with the standard 5G NTN, like you're looking at a technology which is similar to cellular. So the connectivity of our satellite is also not expensive. The hardware is not expensive, and that allows a lot of real-time monitoring applications in the logistics and maritime sector.
Well, it's super interesting. The standardization piece, really having that serve as I say a lot of times in an IoT ecosystem or in a infrastructure, it's those gateway pieces that are standardized that become the kind of de facto way of doing things where value is created. Super interesting to me. Omar, you had mentioned also kind of, where you see OQ Technology, your company, as well as the kind of IoT ecosystem's use of that type of end-to-end connectivity, like headed also. So we've got a good idea of some great use cases, very compelling, by the way. But where do you see things moving? And I know it's early 2024. We got to make predictions, right? But
yes. Yeah. No, that's very interesting. I mean, to say where we're going, it's good to see where we have been before. So when we started 2016 with the idea of using narrowband IoT over satellites, the first thing that the challenge we face is how do you build the software stack of 5G and make that work over a nano satellite. So we spent some years developing that technology. We own our own IPN stack, and then we moved into testing this in orbit and then putting the satellites and the infrastructure. So we've been last year really busy in completing this infrastructure and the network, and this year we're really going into expanding our commercial service. So we have commercial service last year running. We have customers like Aramco. We signed up with Telefonica. And this year is going to be really about expanding that commercial service globally when we complete our batch 1 with the 2 satellites coming soon. So that's what we're focusing this year. But we also are looking into the future. So you see today that there's a lot of talk, but also we see this already in the field of connecting directly to mobile phones. So this is something we're always keeping an eye on to see, because once we do narrowband over satellite and IoT, the next step will be where are you going? Wearables, and then broadband, and then direct to mobile phone messaging, because it's going to be standard. Like, the iPhone already connects to satellites. New smartphones are going to be able to connect to satellites. The standard is out there. Module makers are already integrating this into new phones. So, if you have the right infrastructure with the right license spectrum and the right standard technology, that you can talk to all these smartphones and offer connectivity. So that's the future we're looking at. And we see a lot of companies also moving this direction already.
Very interesting. So Omar Qaise of Omar OQ Technology. So I just kind of wrap it up around this, is that, I always like to see companies when they're pursuing some form of excellence, they're able to kind of lock in a type of excellence. And I see the standardization approach and some core IT, and we'll have to talk more, or IP, we'll have to talk more about that. But also having a vision for being dynamic with that excellence, moving and kind of changing some things in the ecosystem, which certainly OQ Technologies look like it's doing. I find it super fascinating. So great conversation, Omar. I really appreciate it. IoT M2M Council. Come visit the booth over here at 11077 at the IoT Infrastructure Space, and we'll see you then. Thanks so much. Thanks so much,
Thank you.
Omar.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
you.
Thank you.